very good evening and welcome. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. We're talking about monsoon fury and the massive disruption of life that we have seen in the last couple of days ongoing in the states of northern India. This includes Delhi, Punjab, Himachal, worst hit Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir. Extremely heavy rainfall has caused severe waterlogging, swept away houses and vehicles, even bridges in some states. India received 81% above normal rainfall on Sunday, while Delhi recorded the highest rainfall in 4 decades. But while the common man is left stranded in this mayhem, the monsoon has also exposed the state of civic infrastructure in our country. It's not just the kind of help people have had with their property being destroyed and roads flooded. Lives have been lost. At least a dozen lives have been lost in the monsoon fury in the last couple of days. Wide redeveloped roads remained submerged in knee-deep waters. Metros are reeling under bad town planning. The spate of construction in hilly region has left nature gasping for space. Rivers are surging and so are the woes of the common man. We can no longer ignore nature and its fury. Whether you call it a combination of climate change and poor infrastructure, we know that this is something we see repeated year after year in some part of the country or the other. This time, this havoc has been wreaked in the northern states of India. Let's take a look at these ground reports before we move ahead with our coverage of the story.
It's been just 2 days that the Delhi is receiving rainfall with the onset of monsoon, but the situation in Delhi NCR has become very, very alarming. Right now, we are standing outside Senior Member of Parliament and Samajwadi Party leader Ram Gopal Yadav. He himself is monitoring the situation. Look at this. This is his house and the water is completely logged in this particular house. This massive water logging in his house. He is completely himself reviewing the situation over here.
एक तस्वीर दिखाता हूं और इसी के साथ समझिए कि ये खतरे की तस्वीर है। सामने आपको बोट चलती हुई नजर आएगी। कोशिश ये है कि दिल्ली के यमुना से जुड़े हुए 6 जिलों के उन इलाकों में प्रभाव कम हो, लोगों को नुकसान ना हो, उसके लिए लगातार बोट चलाई जा रही हैं और सूचित भी किया जा रहा है लोगों को कि वो जो भी यमुना के किनारे है वो यहां से हट जाए, वो उस इलाके में ना आए।
Nothing can be more painful when you see the walls of your houses crumbling in front of your eyes. That is exactly what has happened with many of the people here in Gakhyal village, that is on the Indo-Pak border. You can see how this house has collapsed. Water, gushing water has entered inside most of the houses because of a flash flood. We saw that yesterday. Flash flood not only broke embankment of this river, but also entered inside many of these houses. Look at the condition of this room. And if you can see, it is completely submerged in water, flee from this home. So they have lost everything. You can see their dreams are completely shattered.
इस वक्त मोहाली खरड़ में हूं जहां एक हाउसिंग सोसाइटी में पानी घुस गया। कल भी हमने डेराबस्सी से रिपोर्ट किया था कैसे गाड़ियां डूब गई थी और आप अब ये नज़ारा देखिए। ये पारस पैनोरमा हाउसिंग सोसाइटी है खरड़ मोहाली में और देखिए एक गाड़ी यहां पर फंसी हुई है पानी में, जिसको निकालने का प्रयास पिछले आधे घंटे से हम देख रहे हैं यहां पर लोग कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारी गाड़ियां यहां पर डूब गई हैं। पूरा जो बेसमेंट है, जो पार्किंग एरिया है, वो पानी में डूब चुका है। लोग, क्योंकि लिफ्ट भी काम नहीं कर रही है और अगर वो सीढ़ियों से नीचे उतरते हैं तो नीचे पानी भरा है।
उत्तराखंड में भी त्रासदी देखने को मिलनी शुरू हो गई है। हम इस समय मौजूद हैं शिमला बाईपास देहरादून रोड पर। आप देख सकते हैं मेरे पीछे की जो मंजर है वो काफी तकलीफ देने वाला है और काफी इस मंजर को देख के हर कोई यहाँ पे भीड़ लग गई है। देखिए ये बरसाती नाला है रामगढ़ का, रामगढ़ नदी का नाम बोला जाता है। ये रामगढ़ का रपटा है और ये बारिश के पानी ने देखिए किस तरह से एक गाड़ी को भी वहां पार करने की कोशिश की जा रही थी, जिसके बाद वो गाड़ी भी फंस गई, जिसमें से लोगों ने कूदकर जान बचाई।
लगातार 3 दिनों से भारी बारिश हो रही है हिमाचल में और भारी बारिश के चलते हालात जो है वो बद से बदतर बनते जा रहे हैं। इस वक्त मैं एनएच पे हूँ और आप देख सकते हैं एनएच की कंडीशन, आप देख सकते हैं किस तरह जो है बड़े बड़े पत्थर जो है वो नीचे गिरे हैं। पूरा का पूरा पहाड़ जो है भरभरा कर नीचे गिर गए हैं। बड़े बड़े पेड़ जो हैं वो सड़कों पर आप देख सकते हैं किस तरह जो है हाईवे पे ये हालात है अभी हिमाचल में।
Today, the rainfall activity is expected to decrease over Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, but activity will continue over Uttarakhand. And gradually, this heavy rainfall belt will shift eastwards And from 11th, you can see that it is along the foothills and the states like UP, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Assam, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh. Yeah, compared to yesterday, it is far better, and we are expecting only isolated heavy rainfall activity over Himachal Pradesh.
Okay, that's specific to Himachal Pradesh, but there is an alert for high rainfall over parts of Punjab. Delhi has a yellow alert right now. And, you know, frankly, this whole situation needs to be talked about in more than just the context of how much rainfall there is. That is not something we have a control over. That is sometimes, and perhaps the reality of our times with climate change. The question is, are we prepared, and why does our infrastructure crumble in such a terrible manner? You have pictures and pictures of roads caving in various areas. Like we mentioned, a bridge has flown over. G P Sharma, President Skymet, joining us now for more on this story and more perspective on the story. Vimlendu Jha, Environmentalist, also joining us on the story. Welcome to both of you. Mr. Sharma, let me begin with you and just understand what we have seen in the last few days. Is this normal in the course of the monsoon over these parts of the country?
Tamanna, we don't call it normal, but then it is the characteristics of monsoon. You see, monsoon variability has all these features. There are some active and some break sequences during the months. These are called intra-seasonal variability, intra-seasonal oscillations of the monsoon. Yes, it has been extreme this time, this particular episode which was there over the last about 3 days or so, and across the mountains as well as the plains. Yes, it rewritten the history of records since the time we started maintaining it, having 4 decades, 5 decades. Chandigarh had all-time high, 322 millimeter in 24 hours. National capital, as you said, was 4 decades old. But then this is the monsoon fury, which was expected also. It was forecast in advance. Because of the confluence between the multiple systems. One was the monsoon trough, the other one was western disturbance, and that is how together they have worked in tandem to cause this extreme rainfall weather activity. Okay, there is a relief. There is a relief now. It has already vacated. Western disturbance has already vacated Jammu Kashmir region. Himachal Pradesh today also.
This is unprecedented.
They did experience.
No, you didn't use the word unprecedented. 1 minute, Mr. Sharma. You said this is something which has never happened and broken all the records. So I could say this is unprecedented. This has never happened before. Now, my question to you is, was there a forecast for this? Because, you know, there are dozens of lives that have been lost. In Manali, for example, tourists have been stranded, etc. They've had to be airlifted. It's just been a terrible situation. I'm wondering if we knew this was coming and could have planned it. Look at the visuals we're showing. That hotel shouldn't have been there in the first place. And if we had any inkling that there's going to be this kind of rain, it should have been evacuated in advance. So was there a forecast?
Tamanna, no one can forecast that there will be over 300 millimeter of rain in Chandigarh. No one can forecast that over 2 days of time, we have about 200 and about 60 millimeter rain in the national capital. What we can forecast is the heavy rains are likely to be there. It could be extremely heavy. Model will forecast up to that. Total quantum of the rainfall, it is next to impossible. Okay, 26th of July 2005, when Mumbai had in excess of 1,000 millimeter of rainfall, it is only hindsight that you can possibly rerun the thing and assess. But then forecast of this magnitude, quantifying that it is going to exceed the 300, 400 millimeter, that is not possible. Okay, like you said, you see 4 decades back also, 26th of July 1982, the national capital had 169.9 millimeter of rainfall. That was 4 decades back. So that's why I'm not calling unprecedented, because the monsoon oscillations will have these features, one after the other, and this is not the last one which we are having. It may had a repeat. I do not know when, but then these are normal characteristics of the monsoon fury. As I said, relief is there in sight now, except Uttarakhand, which will possibly have another 2 days, or maybe 3 days also. Some other pockets of the country, they still remain on alert. But then the worst is getting over, at least for this episode is concerned. be it part of Punjab, Haryana, even for the national capital also. But then we should not be complacent. We are just about in the early days of the monsoon, about more than 2.5 months still behind us. Okay, and then we need to exercise a lot of caution, particularly the mountains. Mountains they remain always mysterious for obvious reasons. They have a difficult terrain. All the water bodies, be it the lakes, canals, or the reservoirs,
Delhi.
or all the water channels.
What happened in Delhi?
Yeah.
What happened in Delhi?
Correct. Delhi, you see, every time, this time it rained about 153 millimeter. Even when it rains 100 millimeters, same scenario. There are some typical spots are there which are underwater, typical underpasses are there. You can name those places that they will be at risk of getting submerged every time it happens. Yes.
Okay. Let me get Vimlendu into the conversation. Vimlendu, is this, because this discussion is important right now to fix and understand accountability. Is this just the fault of the rain gods? All of our politicians and, state governments can say that there's so much rain, what can we do about it? Or is there more to the story?
There is more to the story because indeed the rain is unprecedented. But as the speaker before me said that, it's not just 153 mm rain that actually floods Delhi. It's 10 mm rain also in Delhi that floods several areas. If you look at flooding in national capital or flooding in Gurgaon or in Chandigarh, a lot of this is because of apathy and corruption and misunderstanding or ignorance towards nature and natural systems. If you look at that hotel that you were talking about, why was it actually constructed in the first place in ecologically sensitive area? If you look at several of the highways that have actually been washed away in Himachal and many other parts, that has happened because these highways or these constructions were actually made in the path of a waterway or in a riverway. And very unfortunate, and I shouldn't be saying this, but this is the only way that the nature could reclaim its land or reclaim its property or reclaim its identity in many ways. Every time people like us talk about ecological sensitivity and to be mindful about that while doing infrastructure development and developing the new India, we are completely mindless when we actually have been building these mega road projects. Look at the number of landslides that have actually happened around these mega broadening of road projects all around the Himalayas. So therefore, just to singularly and conveniently blame the rains as the political class is doing would be disservice to knowing the exact reason or to put accountability to this entire thing. Like what you said, that if we knew that we are going to have a weather event, if we knew that the western disturbance and the monsoon together is going to collide over Jammu and Kashmir, I think our IMD and our political class should have really done something. We've seen our ministers go and take the camera teams along with them and take these photo ops of doing a supervision or inspection of a river or of a drain. But why did they not do that beforehand? And why do we not really, what lesson do we learn from 2013 Kedarnath floods and 2018 Kerala floods or 2018 Karnataka?
Exactly. No, Vimlendu, exactly. We don't seem to have learned any lessons, and there seems to be no accountability for the quality of infrastructure. Now, obviously, we'll need a proper audit to understand why roads and bridges cave in like paper when there is rain. And we are going to be in an era of more and more erratic and concentrated rainfall. You and I have been speaking about this for years and tracking how erratic and concentrated rainfall becomes. Are we building infrastructure to match the fury of nature which is undoubtedly coming?
We actually are not. We are not even, though our government actually is signatory to several of these IPCC reports. If you look at the 2022 IPCC report that clearly told us about extreme heat waves to extreme flood situations, and you and I in last 6 months would have actually discussed many of those extreme weather events. We've discussed air pollution to heat waves, and today we are discussing floods, but we haven't really seen any of those policy level change or implementation on ground. Can you imagine Delhi does not even have Delhi's master plan, the drainage master plan or the drainage plan actually was made in 1976. So, we and it took 10 years to make a new plan that never got implemented. So we don't have a vision. We don't have a foresight. We don't understand that governance is not just about winning elections and being in the government. Governance is actually about serving people, having foresight, understanding, and having scientific temperament. Because if year after year, all the climate change reports and IPCC reports have told us about flood-like situation, extreme weather situation in coastal areas and in Himalayas. In last 6 months, we've seen caving in happening in Joshimat. We've seen landslides in a lot of these areas where heavy construction is happening. What do we do about it? We actually still are going ahead and making policies that are counter narrative to the environment, saving of environment or climate change. We don't really take cognizance of climate change or, for that matter, even climate events. These are completely in tandem, and that's where we are arriving at where we are today. And things are only going to get worse here onwards. The worst of climate change is yet to come, and we are mindlessly building infrastructure and playing with nature and fighting with nature each day, and this is really, really dangerous.
In the hill stations, look at the vulnerability and look at how all of these leisure places, these hotels have been built, where they have been built. Was there an ecological reason for them to be built there? Was that the right place? Were the right studies done? We don't know any of that. Now, looking forward, Mr. Sharma, you mentioned that it's going to be some relief now. Is that in just this part of the country? What is the forecast that we're seeing for the northern states and for the rest of the country in the remainder of the monsoon season, which has actually just begun?
Okay, firstly, the monsoon now itself has got different shades.
Yeah.
We talk about south, there are pockets, there are states which possibly, if not exactly drought, but drought-like situation. There is a large deficit rainfall. Okay, the agriculture, the farmer, they are in actually double whammy at the moment. What do? There is a deficit of about 35-40% persistent. Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, even up to Telangana also, parts of Maharashtra even. Why go that far? Even on the eastern side, you have Bihar, Jharkhand, parts of Odisha, West Bengal. They are rain deficit at the moment. Whereas on the other side, there is a deluge over the western parts, northern parts. There's so much of unequal distribution, of skewed distribution, I will say. The rainfall, which has been there in the north and west, it's not required that much. It cannot absorb. Actually, everything is saturated now. Anything over and above is damaging everything, including the infrastructure, including the farmers, including the agriculture. Even if the crops are sown, they are getting washed away. Okay, so that is the scenario. You talked about what about the monsoon during the rest of the period. I will say we are just at the beginning. This is the first episode of extreme weather event of this monsoon season. And as I said, monsoon oscillations, they have all this in the kitty. In the coming months also, in the coming weeks also, okay, there will be a little better situation now. As I said, it will improve. Barring Uttarakhand to be cautious for another about 3 days or so. And there will be some pockets of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh having some good rainfall, heavy rainfall. But then overall situation will improve. And whatever the worst has happened in the last about 3 days, I think it's behind us now. Okay, there is an improvement expected all over Punjab, Haryana, foothills, and even national capital also, across hills also. There will be, even Himachal Pradesh will improve. With a caution, I will extend. All these water bodies and in the mountainous area, they are typical of keep responding even after the rains have stopped. Why? Because there is already saturated, slopes have been saturated, they've gone so soft, any slight movement, they can come crumbling down, be it avalanches, because there has been a heavy snowfall in the mid and high reaches also. So there is a danger of all these calamities even after the rain stops. So it doesn't mean that straight away we again venture into the hills immediately after the clearance is given. I will suggest that wait for some more time. At least there is nothing, heaven is not going to fall if we wait for another 3-4 days. Monsoon in the coming days, next few days, as I said, a little bit of relief will be there, but it's building up again. Say after about 16, 17, I think the similar type of a thing is forming in the Bay of Bengal. Again, the same pockets which have already rained in excess, they will rain again in the possibly third week of July. my worry is the pockets which need the rains most at this moment, which are actually monsoon rain-fed only, be it Maharashtra, be it the southern parts of the country, they need the rains, and I am afraid we are not getting those rains over those parts even in the next about 10 days, leaving anxious moment for our farming community as such. Okay, but then overall, if you say the El Nino, the IoT, they are not behaving at the moment. They are precursor to possibly some drier weather in the second half of the monsoon. I still go with that because it has not spared us anytime earlier. And why should it do so this time? Exceptions have been very few.
So we don't even know, we've not even seen the impact of El Nino kick in, which is something we were very worried about. Remember, the progression of the monsoon is a big factor. Economists are watching it, markets are watching it, because it's going to affect a lot of things. But this, what you're seeing on your screens, unseasonal deluges of monsoon, is bad news for everybody. I'm going to end it here, but I want to thank both of you for joining us on the show this evening.